and thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click the notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur. You can also follow the Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur fan page and follow me on Twitter at DGoddess27. So let's get into it. Now listen to this, beloveds. A Georgia town is embarrassed by its racist landmark, but many in the Black community hope to preserve it. So let's get into it. Now, for decades, Aunt Fanny's Cabin, a restaurant known as much for its Southern menu as for its depiction of plantation life and racist imagery, was a favorite haunt for celebrities, for tourists and local residents of Smyrna, Georgia. Now, while Aunt Fanny's Cabin shut down 30 years ago, it is still remembered by former employees for its practice of having young Black waiters serve the eatery's mostly white patrons while wearing yoke-like wooden menu boards hung around their necks. Say what now? That sounds real crazy and racist, right? And you would think that Black people would have better sense. But anyway, let me continue, honey. So they say the shuttered building, which sits along a stretch of Atlanta Road in Smyrna, is now at the center of an unlikely debate about how a Southern community can move on from its painful past, about forgetting its history in the process. Now, as the New York Times reports, city officials recently proposed tearing the building down, arguing that it had fallen into such despair that fixing it would be too costly. And so the place had been a source of civic discomfort for years, they say. But among those pushing hardest to save it were members of Smyrna's Black community. These people have to be coons. They have to be. Let's get into it. So they go on to say that the Black people argue that demolishing the cabin would erase a critical part of local Black history. Last week, a decision to preserve Aunt Fanny's Cabin they had a decision to preserve it, but move it to a nearby farm, for supporters to have a chance to wrestle with how best to preserve the complicated story of the restaurant. And that is of Miss Williams herself. I guess that's the lady who owned it. So they say a local newspaper once described Aunt Fanny, full name Fanny Williams, who worked for the white family who owned the business, as a famous colored mammy. Say what? This is all true, honey. I cannot make this stuff up. Trust me when I tell you, they referred to her, said a local newspaper once described Aunt Fanny, full name Fanny Williams, who worked for the white family who owned the business, as a famous colored mammy. That's what they said. Now, the city is embarrassed, they say, and instead of figuring out how to honor Fanny Williams, they want to erase her. That's what Maryline Blackburn, a leader of the coalition to save Aunt Fanny's Cabin, a group of Black and white residents that work to preserve the building, that's what she had to say, saying that those images of the boys with the menus are atrocious. However, that is part of the history. You can't change it. You can't take it away, sweep it under a rug to make yourself feel better about it. What do y'all think, honey? I'm just curious, honey. I can't wait to see the comments on this one. Now, the New York Times notes that Aunt Fanny's Cabin, which was segregated in its early years, operated from 1941 to 1992, serving fried chicken, macaroni and cheese, genuine Smithfield ham, and other regional specialties. Black people worked as cooks, hosts, servers, and busboys. Waiters were made to sing for the white patrons. Honey, this sounds like a whole plantation. Said they had to sing for the white people. Now I heard it sing for yourself. But this is taking it to an extreme. They said the uniforms for female employees included a pinafore dresses and head wraps that evoke the era of slavery, honey. I mean, this is also nefarious, honey. I cannot. This is no laughing matter, honey, but sometimes you got to laugh, keep from crying, so pay attention. Now, they say it was for a time among the best-known restaurants in the Atlanta area and inspired other local restaurants that romanticized the region's plantation history. Romanticized plantation history, honey. So they was thrilled and enthralled with slavery, the idea of it. And I'm gonna tell you something. Some of these Negroes who want to keep it there as a memoir and who really think it's a part of history that they need and want to preserve, those are the same type of Negroes who would gladly walk right on back into slavery, honey, right on to the plantation, honey, into their little old cabins. Anytime master told them to do so. Pay attention, honey. If they bring slavery back, some black people are just going to go, be all for it. Well, that's what Jesus wants us to do. Oh, God does everything for a reason. I can hear them now. I can hear them now, especially some of these Christian black people. Y'all know it's true. So anyway, some former employees have no good memories of the establishment. Somebody said, it don't remind me of nothing but racism. I know that's right. That's what Roderick McNeil said, who worked at Aunt Fanny's in the summer of 1959. It's an old racist house, and it's past time for it to go, he says. I don't blame you, honey. Now, Lisa Castleberg worked there in the 70s. She said that simply passing by the now vacant building regularly reminds her of a painful time in Smyrna's history. Now that I'm older, I'm like, oh, man, that was so degrading. But it was a job. That's what Castleberg said. She's now 61. They say some want to turn the building into a welcome center, a museum, or a culinary school for Southern food as a way to honor Williams. They said we have no standing structure that honors our history in Smyrna. This is what Sean Martin said, an architect who is black and has been studying the cabin for years. Aunt Fanny's cabin should be a place where all of black Smyrnites could be celebrated in a space that is reclaimed to give us the dignity that they stole from us for decades. Honey, if that's how y'all feel y'all get dignity back, well, go right ahead. Go right on ahead with your bad selves. Because I don't want nothing to do with racism, honey. Anything that was enthralled in racism, honey, I'll pass. Miss me with it. So I'm going to share my screen and let you all see. Because if this is it just looks like a little house to me. That's all it looks like. But they said it was the white people's house. The house. And they had all the black people there as servants and busboys and whatnot. And I'm quite sure they did have the best food in town. I mean, all the people who worked there cooking, it were black. I mean, that's no surprise. And so that's it right there. Also crazy, honey. And they say they're embarrassed by the history. Anyway, everyone, please get the likes up. Please like and share, subscribe to the channel. And be sure to drop me a comment, please, letting me know, what do you think about this? Do y'all think the black people should want to reserve this building that has a history of racism? I mean, it just, to me, reeks of slavery, plantations, and just Negroes being, subjugated and all that stuff or whatever, just being used and abused. And the fact that they had to walk around with wooden menus around their necks and all that stuff, I don't see why any black person would want to keep it. But hey, that's just me. You all let me know what you all think. So to me, that's just as ignorant as the white folk who still want to wave those Confederate flags and say, that that's all part of their history. People that want to preserve racism, to me, are so stupid. In fact, people who want to save and preserve memoirs, things reminiscent of racism, to me, that just makes me feel like they don't ever want to get rid of racism. That's just what it says to me. I don't know. How about you? It just makes me feel like they don't really want to get rid of racism. Because here's the thing. If you want to preserve buildings and items that are connected to a racist history, then you likely miss the racism that came from those things. And you want more of that. And so these are probably the same people who don't even have a problem with racism in this country. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, please like and share, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And I will talk to you all again soon. Peace.